Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Hello and good afternoon, everyone. Welcome back to the latest episode of the Musical Musings program. We air this program every Wednesday at 1 p.m., and it is broadcast from Rajmakon University of Technology, Pranakon. I will be bringing this program to you in two parts. For the first part, I will introduce a song to you along with the band or artist who performs the song, and we will discuss what the song is all about. We will talk about its main themes. The theme just means what it's about. So we will discuss what the song is about. We will discuss a little bit also about the artist. Then we will take a break to listen to the song. Then in the second half of the program, we will analyze the lyrics. The lyrics are the words to the song. So we'll check out any words that might be difficult to understand. There also may be slang or idioms. An idiom is a saying where the words don't mean exactly what they sound like they should mean. We have a lot of idioms in English, so we will discuss any slang or idioms as well as difficult vocabulary. We will do that in the second half of the program. Then we will have the news and the latest updates from the university as usual.
Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
Welcome, everyone. My name is Gary Gray, and I am your host for the Musical Musings program. I am an English teacher here at Rajmakon University of Technology, Pranakon. I've been teaching here at the university for about 7 years, about to start my 8th year here. So I've been here about 7 years, and in my English classes, I sometimes like to incorporate music. I do play a musical instrument and sing a little bit, not very well, but I do my best. And so I like to incorporate that into my lessons sometimes. It makes the class a little more interesting. And so, naturally, I am hosting this musical program. So, for today's episode of Musical Musings, we are going to take a look at the song Everybody Hurts by the band REM. Okay, so before we get into the song, let's chat a little bit about this band, REM. Okay, so first of all, REM, what does that even mean? I'm not honestly certain if they had a different meaning in mind. I have not really heard them talk about the meaning very much, but generally, REM means rapid eye movement. It is a scientific term where we talk about someone when they just first go into the deep part of their sleep. Your eyes move a lot, even though you don't know it when you start going into the deep part of your sleep. So your eyes move a lot very quickly. It is rapid eye movement. REM. That's what that's called. So that's the name of the band. REM. And like rapid eye movement, it is in fact REM. It's not REM. No, each letter is capitalized with a period after each letter in their name, REM. So that is the name of the band. They have been around since 1980. It took really quite a long time for them to become famous. They had a moderate amount of fame pretty early on, actually. Like their first album was pretty good. Their first album was Radio Free Europe, came out in 1981. Most people who are REM fans will know that album. A lot of people who aren't big fans of theirs wouldn't have really heard of them until almost 10 years later. That's when their biggest album came out, their most popular, Automatic for the People. It's hard for me to even say what their biggest hit was. There were just so many big hits, especially over a fairly brief time in the early 1990s. Automatic for the People came out in, I believe, 1992. They had another album, the name I don't recall off the top of my head, which came out in 1991, which was also fairly popular. They had, like I said, they had a lot of big hits. Maybe the song "The End of the World" as we know it might be their most famous, just because it was used in a really popular movie, Independence Day, which you might have seen. It's popular around the world. A very popular movie about aliens coming to Earth, starring Will Smith, who eventually defeats them. So that song was used in that movie. That might be their most popular song. But again, hard to say exactly. They had a lot of really big hits. The song we're doing today, Everybody Hurts, was one of their biggest hits. Probably, I'm pretty sure it wouldn't be number one, number two. The End of the World as we know it's probably higher. That kind of broke through into a broader audience and then get used in the movie. So The End of the World as we know it, probably their number one hit. Again, that didn't come along until 1992. I would have to check that. I did not write down that note what year that song came out in. Just the song we're doing today, which is "Everybody Hurts," which was 1992. But I believe that was on the same album, which is "Automatic for the People." I believe the song "The End of the World as We Know It" was on that same album. It might have been on the previous album. I'd have to go and double check, but it's one of those two albums. So early 1990s. Early 1990s is when that's really when they became their most famous. So that's why I say it took them a long time to become famous. As I said, they started in 1980. They had been around for over 10 years. I did also say, however, that they did have some modest success. Obviously, if you've been around for 10 years and you're getting no success, you're probably just going to disappear. Right? That's going to be it. But they stuck around. So obviously they were having some success. They had, like I said, their first album, Radio Free Europe. Not a bad album. It's fine. It's pretty good. Pretty good music. So they had some moderate success in the 1980s. Just never really broke through. And I think one of the reasons they never really broke through very strongly is their music is fairly unique. If you listen to it, you just listen to one song. I don't know. You might not think it's that unique. It's music. Music has a lot of different genres. It's just music. It's good music. I like it. I always feature bands on here that I like. I like REM. It's good music, but it's just music. So maybe you won't think it's too weird, but it was considered a little different at the time. I'm not sure if you've heard of the genre alternative rock, but a band like Nirvana, who most people who like sort of rock music will have heard of, they're considered alternative. Now they're more of a metal band, alternative rock. REM is definitely not that. REM is definitely more soft rock, and in fact, the song we're doing today is going to be more of a soft rock style song. But they're still in that kind of alternative genre. So it's a little different. It's a little bit of a different sound. And so that might be why, not sure, but that might be why they didn't catch on quite so quickly, because they were one of the first bands like that. 1980. Think about how long ago that was. I do a lot of old bands on here on this program, and it's usually like classic rock songs for bands from around 1980. That's what was most popular then. Even a little disco, although disco was kind of fading at that time. Disco was more in the 70s. So right around 1980, we kind of transitioned into this kind of classic rock music. Obviously, classic rock music goes back into the 70s as well. Groups like Led Zeppelin, The Who were actually probably more popular in the 70s than in the 80s. So there's definitely a lot of crossover there between classic rock and disco. And in fact, they fought with each other a lot of times. I don't know why. I think they're both great music styles. But for some reason, people that like rock hated disco. People that like disco hated rock. I don't know why. I like them both. So this was alternative rock coming out right at that time. Really different music. I'm guessing that's why it took them so long to catch on. By the time you got into the late 80s, early 90s, alternative rock, the word alternative kind of means different. Alternative rock wasn't even alternative anymore. That was what probably half of the popular bands were by the early 90s, were alternative rock bands. So the taste, the musical taste from the general public changed over the course of time. And by the time we got into the early 1990s, REM hadn't changed much. Of course, they changed a little bit, but they hadn't changed much. But culture had changed, musical tastes had changed. So the culture kind of moved towards them. So they kind of got a little bit lucky there. They kind of got lucky. The other thing I think they were pretty lucky about was the fact that everyone in the band pretty much got along. They did break up. Usually breakups in music are pretty bad. People have a difference of opinion about what direction the band should go in, whatever. No, they stayed around until 2011. So they were together for 30 years, from 1980 to 2011, over 30 years. And when they broke up, it was mutual. They just decided, all right, we've done this for 30 years. Time to go do something new. Most of them pursued like solo careers. For example, the lead singer, who is quite popular, his name is Michael Stipe. He went on to pursue a solo career. Marginally successful. It was more successful at first, and it's kind of faded. I think his success came from being the lead singer of REM. And personally, I think his style has changed a little bit, and I preferred him with REM. And I'm guessing that's what most people think the same thing. That's why he's kind of gone down in popularity some. He's actually a very nice guy. His opinions on issues, he's fairly outspoken, so you may not necessarily agree with him. I happen to, which makes me feel even better about him. I happen to agree with him on most issues, not everything. You're never going to agree with anyone on everything, but I agree with him on most issues. So I kind of like his politics, where he stands on things. He's also, like I said, a very nice person. He gives a lot. Gives to charities, things like that a lot. Very decent human being. So when I say that, his music isn't as good now, that's just my analysis of the music. It worked better in the band with REM. I'm saying nothing about him personally. Personally, I think he's a great person. Not that I don't know him personally, of course, but so he could be a real jerk, and he just pretends when he's on camera. Who knows? But he seems like a really nice guy. And my guess is they all are. Like I said, they stayed together for all that time, for 30 years. Only one band member left, and that was really after their popularity had peaked. So that band member stayed with them that whole time, all the way through when they were working so hard to kind of build up their name through the 1980s. So slow, such a tough slog of it in the 80s. Nobody left. Same band members from the start, all the way up until that one band member left. And I believe the remaining band members all stayed with them all the way up until they broke up in 2011. If I recall, I did not write this down in my notes, but if I recall, that one position where that one person left, they replaced several times, perhaps. So I think there's been. So if you were to look at who's like former band members, you're going to see several names in there, but they're all from the same position. It's not like, oh, the guitarist left and the drummer left and the lead singer left and this person left. No, one person left. So really, that's really unique in the music industry, and I think it speaks to the good nature of the band members. As I said, Michael Stipe, the lead singer, from what I have seen at least, seems like an extremely decent, good person. So this is a good band to talk about because it's nice. Nice band. Good people. Now, let's get to the song. The song may not seem so nice that we're doing today. Everybody Hurts. Ugh. That sounds very sad. It's a weird song because it's actually a positive song, but it does sound very sad. As you'll hear when you hear the song, um, as big into music as I am, I'm not big into like analyzing. Is that minor? What chord is that? What I have trouble like hearing that in my head, but it sure sounds to me like there's a lot of minor chords in the song. That's often used by musicians when they want to portray like some sort of something sad or bad. So the song really does sound very sad. And the name of the song, Everybody Hurts. But it's actually meant to be a positive song because the title is telling you everyone feels this way sometimes. So it's okay. You feel sad, you feel depressed, you feel down about something. It's okay. Nothing wrong with that. Because some people will criticize you when you're feeling sad. Because they're like, oh, come on. What do you feel so bad about? Blah, 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 whatever. Some people actually criticize you for feeling bad, as if it's not okay to feel bad. I had that happen to me myself personally. My brother passed away about 2.5 years ago. And at the funeral, someone told me that I have to not be so sad. Really? At the funeral for my brother? Come on. It's ridiculous, but people are like that. I guess they feel uncomfortable when they're around someone else who's sad. They don't know how to react, so instead of trying to be sympathetic, they rather you change and stop being so sad. And so what this song is saying is no. It's okay to be sad. Everyone is sometimes. Bad things happen in life. That's life. It's not good, but it happens. And the important thing is, and this is what they're trying to say with Everybody Hurts, is that it happens to everyone. Everyone gets sad. Even terrible people who you would think would never be sad about anything. Sure, they're sad if things don't go their way. Think of the worst person in the world, maybe Adolf Hitler. Supposedly, he loved dogs, actually. Well, imagine if his pet dog died. He would probably have been sad. If he actually did love dogs, he would have been sad. And he's a horrible human being. So literally everybody is sad sometimes. So that's what the song's about. Again, it's going to sound like a sad song. But it's supposed to be more comforting than sad. And in fact, that was their intention. Some artists don't tell you like the point of their song. These guys did. They didn't get into details, and there are some lines here where it might be a little hard to interpret what they mean in the individual line of the song. But for this song, the audience they were aiming towards is teenagers who are going through difficult times. And I don't know about here in Thailand, but in America, well, I do kind of know a little bit about here in Thailand, and I think it is probably different, somewhat. somewhat different. I'm sure teenagers still have a lot of pressures here in Thailand as well. But just because families tend to be a little closer in Thailand, it might be a little less. So in America, there tends to be more pressure on teenagers. And there's so much that actually, suicide among teenagers is fairly high. Uh, it's really pretty sad that teenage suicide occurs at such a high rate in America. And Michael Stipe happens to be gay, and gay teenage suicide rates are even higher because in America, this is a cultural difference between America and Thailand. It's based on the kind of the religious background of America. Even though most people there are not very religious, they still have some of those beliefs. Being gay is less acceptable. And so, teenagers, that's when they kind of are learning about themselves. They're discovering themselves. So if you discover this about yourself and it's not acceptable in your culture, it's difficult. It's a lot of pressure. It's a lot of pressure, even more pressure than most teenagers have. And teenagers already have a lot of pressure in America. So there is a real problem with suicides in America. And so that's what this song is aimed towards. It's aimed towards teenagers and telling them, look, everyone goes through this. There's one line in the song that says, take comfort in your friends. So in other words, lean on your friends, tell them what's going on, tell them your problems. If they're really your friends, they're going to listen to you. They're going to accept you. They'll help you out if they can. You can get through it. So again, this is actually supposed to be a positive song. It seems really sad, and it's addressing a very sad topic, but it's a positive song. It's meant to encourage these teenagers, to let them know it's okay. It's okay to feel bad. Take comfort in your friends. Everyone goes through this. Everybody hurts. Everyone goes through this. You will get through it. So be strong. So that's what the song is about. All right, so let's get to the song. As always, for any of you listening on YouTube, copyright issues prevent us from embedding the video. But you'll see a link in the upper right corner. You can click on that to get the video. Then when the video is done, just click on back over here for us to go through the lyrics. And for anyone else out there listening, whether you're listening on the radio or streaming, you should be able to listen to this just fine. All right, let's get to the song.
Musical musings, musical musings, musical musings, musical musings.
All right, welcome back. So that is a song about life and how we all go through pain. We all go through problems. Again, the song was directed towards teenagers, but one thing they found out when they made the song is that everyone kind of had a response to it. Because of course adults feel pain too. We have plenty of problems ourselves. So everyone kind of responded to it, and it became one of their most popular songs. Again, I don't think it's their most popular. The End of the World as we know it's probably their most popular. But this is one of their most popular songs. All right, so let's get through the lyrics. So sometimes I kind of halfway sing these lyrics. The way it's sung, it's almost half spoken sometimes. So I will just speak the lyrics here. So it says, when your day is long and the night is yours alone. Okay, so we start out right away. Right away, it sounds sad, right? Your day is long. So when you've had a long day, in America, we use that saying to say you've had a long day. It means that it was difficult. A lot of problems. We also have a saying that time flies or goes fast when you're having fun. So if your day is long, the time has gone slowly. So you're not having fun. It's a bad day. Okay, and the night is yours alone. So you're by yourself at night. So you've had a bad day, and now you're home alone, just thinking about everything that's happened. So You can already see we start out kind of depressed with this song, right? When you're sure you've had enough of this life, well, hang on. Okay, when you're sure you've had enough, to have enough of something means you don't want it anymore. Sometimes when we use it just without that extra meaning, it just means, it literally means that's enough. Like if you're eating dinner, okay, you're full now. I've had enough. But when we say, but when we say it kind of with enthusiasm, like I've had enough of that, it means you don't want it anymore. It means stop. So this person doesn't even want to continue living. Again, it's about suicide. But you notice how they end it. It says, when you're sure you've had enough of this life, well, hang on. Hang on means, doesn't literally mean to hang on to something, but it does mean to kind of grab a hold of yourself. It means, be strong. It's going to be okay. Just hang in there. That's another saying we use, which is similar, hanging in there. And it means just wait. Just be patient. It's going to get better. So again, they're trying to be encouraging. Seems like a really sad song, but there's many lines in here which are actually encouraging. They're trying to encourage people. Don't let yourself go. So, in other words, now that could be interpreted two different ways. I said there are some lines that could have more than one interpretation. They could mean literally don't kill yourself because it's about suicide. They could literally mean that. Or when we use the phrase let yourself go, that usually happens when somebody doesn't care anymore. And so maybe they look like they don't shower, or their room is filthy, or they're not studying for their classes. Their whole life is falling apart. They've let themselves go. It could mean that as well, because that's related. It's usually someone that doesn't care anymore. So it's kind of related to the same idea. So don't let yourself go, because everybody cries. Everybody hurts sometimes. So again, they're saying don't let yourself go because this happens to everyone. In other words, don't feel like you are alone. Like this is just all these problems you have. It's just you. No, everyone goes through this. Okay, because everybody cries, everybody hurts sometimes. Okay, sometimes everything is wrong. Now it's time to sing along. When your day is night alone, hold on. If you feel like letting go, hold on. Okay, so I think this part's fairly easy to understand. Sometimes everything is wrong. Okay. Yep. Now it's time to sing along. So, in other words, this next part, they really want you to understand, really take this in. They're not necessarily asking the audience to sing along here. When your day is night alone. So, in other words, you're feeling all alone, like it's nighttime during the day. So it's dark, you're alone. Hold on. Remember, we had that saying before, hold on. That means be patient, be strong, things will get better. If you feel like letting go, so we have letting go again, like don't let yourself go. Same idea here. If you feel like letting go, hold on. Now, when it says if you feel like letting go, that does seem a little bit more like they're talking about suicide again, because letting yourself go, that's where it can have two different meanings. Just letting go, no, one meaning. Okay, so we continue on. If you think you've had too much of this life, well, hang on. Okay, so same thing here. Before it said when you're sure you've had enough. Now it says when you think you've had too much. Same thought though. Same idea. If you think you've had too much of this life, hang on. So again, we use the same saying there. Because everybody hurts. Take comfort in your friends. I talked about that line in our opening segment of our program today. So, once again, this is supposed to be encouraging. I know the song sounds sad. The topic is very sad. We're talking about teenage suicide, really. That's what this is all about. The topic is sad, but it's trying to encourage people to be strong. Take comfort in your friends. Okay, then we continue. Everybody hurts. Don't throw your hand. Oh no, don't throw your hand. If you feel like you're alone, no, 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 you are not alone. All right, so the line, don't throw your hand, I'm honestly not sure what that one means. I could think of a couple of ways to interpret that. One could be almost like they're not even talking about your hands. They could be talking about like playing cards. It's called a hand of cards. And when you throw in your hand, you're quitting. I suspect that's not what he means here, but I'm not sure how else to interpret that. Don't throw your hand. It could mean don't throw your hands up, because that's also a sign of giving up when you just go like that. I give up. Could mean that. And we call that throwing your hands up. But there's no up here. And we always say throw your hands up or something like that. Throw your hands in the air, something like that. So I'm not sure what he means, but either interpretation I just gave you actually, even though they're totally different, mean the same thing. Means giving up. So I believe he is at least talking about that. He's saying don't give up. Don't throw your hand. He's saying don't give up. And then the next line there that I already read to you is exactly what I told you they were getting at before when they talk about everybody hurts. It says, if you feel like you're alone, no, 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 you are not alone. That's exactly what I was talking about. When they talk about everyone hurting, in other words, everyone goes through this. You feel so alone when you're in that kind of dark, sad place. You feel like there's no one there. Just like the example I gave with my brother. My brother was also my best friend, which kind of really makes me feel alone because he's the one I would talk to. Not there anymore. So, yeah, you're going to feel alone. But lots of people in the world have gone through that. It's sad that so many people in the world have had to have gone through that, especially when my brother was way too young to pass away. But it happens. It happens in life. We had COVID go around. Lots of people who were too young passed away. Happens in war. We have war in Ukraine, war in Gaza right now. Lots of young men are dying over there. It happens. So you're not alone. Okay, we continue on. If you're on your own in this life, the days and nights are long. When you think you've had too much of this life to hang on, well, everybody hurts sometimes. Okay, so let's back that up here a little bit. If you're on your own in this life, when we say on your own, it's kind of a saying, but this is a weird situation where a saying actually kind of does mean what it says. So I'm not even sure you'd call it an idiom. On your own means on your own. It means you're by yourself. So if you're on your own in this life, it means you really don't have anyone. And that can be a little more difficult because remember, earlier said take comfort in your friends. You may not have any really close friends if you're on your own. So if you're on your own in this life, the days and nights are long. So if you're all alone, yeah, your days and nights, you're probably not having any fun. You're not talking to your friends, family, whoever. You're on your own. So yes, the time drags out. The days and nights are long. So if you think you've had too much of this life to hang on, a little different this time. Instead, it doesn't say, well, hang on. It says, if you think you've had too much of this life to hang on. So in other words, that's what that's saying is you think you can't hang on. We've told you 2 or 3 times already in this song. Well, hang on. Now we're saying, well, what if you feel like you can't? So then the song reminds this person, well, everybody hurts sometimes. Everybody cries, everybody hurts sometimes, and everybody hurts sometimes. We repeat it. And then it just repeats. So hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, hold on, says a bunch of times, and ends with everybody hurts. So, again, I said a bunch of times already, it sounds like a really sad song. Everybody hurts, everybody cries. Oy, 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 oy. Such a sad song. But it's actually supposed to be encouraging. It's telling you that's why it ends repeating, repeating, repeating. Hold on. It's just telling you to hold on. Things will get better. And mostly it does. Most people as adults don't have as much pressure. I mean, there's still a lot of pressure. Oy. Lots of pressure for money, especially when you're an adult, because you're the one that has to pay for everything. Whereas when you're a teen, maybe you can count on your parents to pay for stuff. So there's still lots of pressures as adults, but it is less than teens face because the pressure teens face is a lot more personal. Money pressures like adults face, it's not good, very stressful, but there might be ways to deal with that a little easier, like just practical things you can do. Don't spend as much money, get a second job. It's very simple things you can do to maybe fix the problem, help the problem, things like that. So the pressure, but whereas the pressures on teenagers are more about like finding yourself, your own person, and things like that, discovering yourself, what you want to do with your life. You got to decide if you're going to college or not. What are you going to major in? All those, I mean, just all kinds of pressures. I mean, and that's going to decide the future possibly of your whole life. If you're picking a career, not that you can't change careers. I have. I was a scientist in America. I'm now a teacher here in Thailand. But I've really only changed careers once in my whole life. And I was a scientist for 25 years. And that's what I studied at university. So, yeah, it's decisions that are going to decide your whole life. So teenagers have a lot deeper kind of pressure as far as that stress. So it should get better. Once you get past those years. So that's what this song is saying. This happens to everyone. Everyone goes through this. So hold on. All right, so that's our song. So, yeah, that's kind of a deep song, right? A difficult topic. Sad seeming song, even though, like I said, it's actually positive, but it seems like a really sad song. Tough one. But it's also a really good song. The music in it, like I said in the first part, I think they used a lot of minor chords in there. I'm not really sure of that. I'm not very good at analyzing that. I should be, given how much I love music, but that's not my strong point in when I talk about music. But it sure sounds like it. It sounds like there's a lot of minors in there, which they like to use to make music sound sad. So really powerful music. And like I said, this is a really good band. REM, lots of great songs. We talked about End of the World as You Know It. Man on the Moon is kind of another a really kind of interesting one that you might have to think about a little bit. And there are just probably at least a dozen a dozen more that are really good. A lot of people really like Night Swimming, that song. It's not one of my favorites, but for a lot of people it is. A lot of people, that's one of their favorite songs by REM. So many more great songs. And it's very interesting because so many of them came out in such a short period. It was their album in 91 and 92, especially 92. Automatic for the People had like half of the album became popular. Half of that album has really big hits on it. So they've been around for a long time, from 1980 to 2011. So it's over 30 years. but they had a period probably of about 5 years where most of their big hits came out. Again, it's not like they didn't have any hits at all before then. Even their first album back in 1981 was pretty good. Radio Free Europe, decent album. So they had hits all the way through their career, but really most of their big hits came in this really short period of time. So it was kind of this crazy period of fame for REM. So there's lots of great songs of theirs to listen to. Go look them up on however you will listen to your music, whether you just watch it on YouTube or you have a streaming service, however you listen to your music. Go look them up. Lots of great music. As I said, their genre is mostly what we call alternative rock, but even within alternative rock, you can kind of have subgenres. Like I mentioned, Nirvana is also alternative rock, but they're more heavy metal, whereas REM is more soft rock. And sometimes you'll get a little pop. It's almost got this folk feel to it, even a little bit. A couple of their songs are more almost standard rock, like It's the End of the World as We Know It. It's not really strong rock sound, but it's just more standard, which is probably one of the reasons why it broke through a little bit more than some of their other music. So yeah, they vary. Anyone that listens to this program knows I don't really like to talk about genres since there's so much overlap. But generally, they're considered an alternative rock band. So go look them up. Go listen to their music. They've got a lot of great songs. I've only mentioned a few of them here for you. There's lots more than that. Take a listen to them. And as I told you, they're good people. From what I know about them, I don't know them personally, but they seem like good people that were in that band. So give them your time. Take a listen to them. All right. Thank you for joining us today for our Musical Musings program. Please stay with us and make sure you tune back in next week for another great musical selection. Also, don't forget to subscribe to our channel. Thank you.
Musical